And we need to switch to English, no? That's also.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I forgot about it.
Yes, we made it, Ragna. I'm really happy
Yeah,
that you are here. I can see you. It's not in the dark, but you're sitting outside. I think it's quite fresh where you are,
it's a beautiful day, so
but sunny.
it's nice in the sun. Yeah, it's cold in the shadow.
So let's hope that during the podcast, at least you will have the sun with you,
Yeah,
so that you
I
can
hope
stay
so.
warm. Although I remember the last race where I was with you, that was not a warm race. So well, from that regard, I think you're quite used to all kind of weather circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably right. Even though I suffer a lot when it gets really cold. That was actually the first race I ever ran with my rain jacket on during the entire race. Usually when it rains, you put it on for maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, and then it gets hot and you take it off. But here the temperature was so low that, well, most of the runners, I think, ran with their rain jackets on. So it was quite a special race.
Yes, yeah, quite a lot of suffering and maybe a lot of stress to make the bridge to where we are here today. I have some warming up questions prepared also for you, and mountain or the sea?
Mountain. Do you need some more
Mountain.
explanations?
Later on, maybe sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Sunrise. Warm or cold?
Warm, I think.
Warm. Yeah. Meditation or breathing?
It's a difficult one. Somewhere in the middle, because breathing is such a wide subject. If you make me choose, I will say meditation.
Maybe you can sort of give a little bit of background why you choose mountain, sunrise, warm, and meditation.
I like mountains because I'm a mountain runner, and the mountains have always attracted me a lot. When I was a child, we usually every year we went on a holiday in the mountains, and I absolutely loved it. And it's so different from the Netherlands. The Netherlands are completely flat, and I think that's probably why a lot of Dutch people on their holidays look for the mountains. And yeah, and then later on, when I started running and I discovered trail running, the mountains became really important. And also I came to explore a lot of different mountains all over the world. So I learned to really love them. So that's why they are important to me. Sunrise, because I like getting up early and I always make pictures of the sunrises when I get up and I get to see them. And I also really like the sunset, but I am very energetic in the morning, so I like the sunrises. Warm and cold is also quite difficult, but I don't like being cold. I like to be a little hot. When it gets to the extremes, it gets more difficult because in the summer, for example, it gets really hot, I also suffer a lot. And in the winter, it might be easier because you can warm yourself up by physical activity, for example.
You're an ultra trail runner, and we're talking about stress and how to get tools and advices on how to build resilience in your life. From what I see from you, is of course that you build a lot of resilience in your life, and when you're running, that could be a way to get rid of stress, but it's also very stressful. So I'm interested to hear from you, what is stress for you? Because this long distance running, for me, that looks like only stress, but for you apparently it's not. So what is stress for you? What is stressful for you, physically, mentally, or emotionally? And what is the moment of sort of like most stressful moment in your life that has shaped you the most?
These are almost like two different questions for me, but I can start just by telling
They are.
you what the most stressful moment was in my life. And when I think about stress and no stress, immediately my thoughts go to running, because that has been a big part of my life. But before my running life, I had another life, and I started with the equestrian world. I was a horse trainer, and I grew up with that. So I kind of like grew into that world from a very young age, probably about 8 to 10 years old, it started growing and it shaped me, and it always guided me. At a young age, I earned money by riding and training horses. And when I finished my secondary school, I decided to go to Germany to become a professional trainer. So that was like a very clear path of in my life. And when I was like very much into that, I suddenly discover no, not as suddenly. I really comply with my expectations. I was really ambitious and I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I thought, like, if I am a good trainer, if I can ride horses well, I will get there. And I discovered that it doesn't depend on yourself. It depends on a lot of other factors that you can't control. And also there were a lot of other factors uh, that made me doubt about this path I had started. That was quite stressful. There was like a long process in my head because I wanted to start another path in my life, and because I knew this wasn't what I wanted. And one night, it took me a long time to decide this, but one night I took the decision and I said, okay, when I wake up, I'm not going to ride any horses anymore. I'm not going to do anything related to horses anymore. So it was like a long mental process, but it was just one very strict or very sudden final decision. And that was very, very stressful. When I made that decision, the people reacted like they couldn't understand it, and they thought, in a week time she will be riding horses and everything will be normal again. But for me, it was really like it had been a really long process, and I just wanted to quit, and that was the moment. And that was very, very stressful for me, because of the pressure from the people, like against me, against my decision, taking me so long to take. So that really brought me into some kind of depression, and I felt like I fell so deep in a big black hole, and I was like, actually, I cried for like 2 or 3 days without like being able to stop crying. That was just very, very stressful. So
Before,
change of life.
but was that before the decision you made, all the crying, or afterwards? What is the sort of, you mentioned like, okay, that was a very
No, it
stressful
was
moment. I understand the pressure from outside, but what happened then in you?
so the process towards it was probably about 1 or 2 years long, so very long, and that was just like bearing all the stress, all the pressure. Like, I kept on doing riding horses and training horses against what I really, really wanted. So I couldn't like take that decision earlier on. And when I took the decision, for me, it was very clear. I mean, it was such a difficult decision, but when I took it, the people didn't accept it. So I had to be really strong, like to really be strict to my own decision. And that moment was a moment I chose for myself, and other people couldn't accept it, but I had to stick with my own decision. That was difficult. I think when you release stress, then you cry because you let it go. So you can finally cry. Maybe all the crying could have been before that moment, but it came after the moment. It was the start of my new life. I had like 1 year. I didn't really know what to do, but then I started to discover other things, and I started running, and that's when my running career started.
You didn't know that when you were stopping with the horses, that would be then sort of the running career would follow.
Yes, absolutely. I was lucky because I started my life doing what I really loved, and I was able to make a stop, to quit this life, and then I was very lucky to discover something else, which I really, really loved.
But yeah, but I want to go back to that one because you said it very quickly. Okay, I continued doing with the horse riding, but I knew it was something which I didn't like anymore. It didn't feel good. So as a lot of people, at least I heard very often that people know that something is off. No, so how did that show up in your life? What did you feel? How did you know that you were not that you were doing something that was not from you anymore?
I think for me the most difficult part was that on one side I felt I couldn't progress anymore because I was a good trainer, and the better I became, the more resistance people gave to me. So they didn't accept that. Like it felt like I was getting through, but they were getting like more and more. They were like slowing me down. Like they didn't let me into the big world. It's very difficult to get on. So I was just seen as a trainer, and I actually trained an Olympic horse, which was for me amazing, of course. But I realized like I will never be the person who will present this horse in the Olympics, and that was one thing that was difficult because I was very ambitious myself and I wanted to be in the picture. I guess I wanted to show what I could do. And the other part, as a trainer, it is difficult because the horses need to perform at a very young age. And I really disagreed with the way they have to uh, perform. Like when they are 4 years old, they have to do certain tests. And when they are 5 years old, they do other tests that are more advanced. And then at the 6-year-old age, they are going into the Grand Prix, which is the hardest test. And it's with horses, it's like with children. Like some children read and write when they are 6, and others read and write when they are 9. There's a big age gap in between. And with horses, it's the same. And the horses have to be mentally and physically prepared for the tasks a trainer is asking them to do. And because the age groups are so strict, there's not enough time normally for the horses to adapt. So I was forced to train those horses to do things that they were not ready for. And I really felt that that wasn't working. Like I had to like kind of torture them into it, and the horses didn't enjoy what I asked to do them, and I didn't like asking the horses. So it really was so clear that this was not the way like it should be. So I really just on a daily basis, I just felt like I was doing things I didn't want to do, and that is very hard to endure for a long time because it just feels completely wrong.
Yeah, so it's basically you were doing things which you, yeah, were not in line with your values or what you thought was
Exactly.
should have been done or the normal way, and that started
Mm.
to get sort more and more in the way, more and more.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
How do you recognize that you're off track now? No, that because that was a moment of shifting careers which shaped you a lot. You said.
Yes.
And now you're running again. And how do you notice that you're on track or off track? How do you feel it? What
Mm.
happened?
Yeah, it's a very complex question because when I started running the first maybe I don't know how many years, but maybe 15 years, I didn't actually notice any stress, at least no negative stress. All the pressure, the nerves and everything was always something positive for me to feel more adrenaline and to perform better whilst I was running. So during a very, very long part of my running career, stress was like a positive factor. It was actually one of the factors I really loved because that was something I loved from the races. Like training is one part and okay, you can push yourself, but never so much as when you're racing where I really felt like, okay, I know this type of stress is helping me to run faster and to surprise myself. Like, things I couldn't do in the training sessions, I could do in a race. And this was always like that until after I won the world championships, like several world championships. And then I started to do like even longer races. I was racing like 85 kilometer, 100-kilometer races at that time. And then I wanted to start to do a 100-mile race. I did my first 100-mile race, and it was also a positive experience because it was during my travels around the world, and it was not something I was so much focused on. So it was just like I just ran the race as part of my travels. It's actually a documentary. It was a good experience. I came third, so it was really positive. And then I immediately went for the biggest race in trail running of the 100-mile races, which is UTMB. And then suddenly I felt a lot of pressure from the people, from the media, from just the people around me, and of course my own pressure, because I felt like, I'm going to run UTMB and I need to be on the stage. I need to either to win or at least be one of the first three fastest women in this race. And I noticed the week before the race that my heart rate was a lot higher. For example, I couldn't really relax. My muscles were more tense all the time, and still I thought, why should it go wrong? Let's just run. But I remember that they were doing an interview only 3 hours before the start of the race, and I actually had to sit down because I was standing up and I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like, and I didn't realize that something was going really wrong. But then I raced, and actually I was in a very good shape. So I think I was running fourth most part of the race, which is a good position, obviously. And um, there were only 15 kilometers left of the, you have to imagine it's a 170-kilometer race, and the last 15 kilometers, there's one climb, and then a little flat part, and then a downhill to the finish. So I climbed that last climb, and I was fourth and fifth. We were climbing together. And suddenly, as I was getting to the highest point, I was thinking, do I have to go down now, run to the finish, and celebrate, this race with the people there? I felt like I had failed, for myself, for the other people, and that I felt I didn't want to go to the finish and celebrate. So this was going on in my mind, and I was going up, and I was like, no, don't go up any further. My mind was telling me no, you don't want it. You don't want to go to the finish, and feeling like you have failed, and still being with people who will clap on you, who will be pleased. And so I stopped and I called my team and I said, I'm here and I'm not going down. I'm going back to the last point where we met each other. And so I went all the way all the way down in contrary direction of the race, and I quit the race. And it had a big impact on me, because it was the first time when pressure went against me. From that time onwards, actually, it became a lot harder to deal with stress, because every race I felt that any interviews, any pressure I felt from the outside was negative, and it made me, it made me feel stressed, literally, but also just it took the energy out of me, basically, and it made that I often didn't feel free to race. And I think when you race, you really, really need to feel free, so you can just be yourself and play in the mountains.
That's your superpower then. If you feel free, authentic, no pressure. So how to manage the pressure, that there's no pressure, performance without pressure, difficult. So what is your way then to deal with that? You didn't pay attention and you managed, but then at a certain moment when it shifts, it's there, no? So how did you deal with that then afterwards? Because all of a sudden it was part of something to overcome.
Yeah,
I think there is
afterwards,
always a little bit of pressure in any kind of situation.
there's always pressure, and afterwards I still ran long races.
Now you know that you have this voice or this internal pressure. What do you do to
Oh
overcome
yeah.
that? I try to look in your brain and see if I can get, or we can get some tools so that we can help us as well. No.
So after this experience with UTMB, I suddenly had to learn to manage this type of stress, and I found this very hard. Actually, I didn't have any tools or anything, and I couldn't manage very well. And I worked with sports psychologists, and they actually found it also hard to help me with it, because they didn't actually actively work on it. Nobody actually realized what was going on from that moment on. And I became less regular. Like before, I always won every race I prepared for. And from that moment, I just I was less regular. Sometimes I won a race and it felt like easy and easy to manage, and other races I just felt like a lack of energy and I couldn't perform well. But I didn't really know how I could get the good version of me and why sometimes I had this bad version of me. So I just let it happen, and I just thought like, oh, this happens with most athletes. Like sometimes they perform well and sometimes they don't perform well. Yeah, people tend to think like they have a bad day or something, but it's like a problem with the stress, and probably also with other athletes that you have to manage. So physically you are actually capable, but mentally you are like, yeah, not able to show what you are physically capable of. So yeah, that went on for another couple of years, and then I actually like made a change again. I started training with another coach. So I had been training for over 10 years with the same coach, and he was always very positive, and at least he was like like uh one support I always had, like, because he always gave me like positive feedback and I could always rely on him. And by changing coaches, I started to work with somebody really keen on making me perform again. I think he sometimes just didn't have this feeling like he couldn't give positive feedback sometimes. The things I didn't do so well, and he didn't applaud the things I did well. So I became like, I went into like a negative spiral. And every time I was capable of less things really. And then actually I was even like, I became scared of my own trainings. Like I went running and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do this training session. And yeah, when your mind is not helping you, then obviously your body is not helping you either. So then something I really like adored, I really loved, became something like something difficult in my life, and something I was like almost scared of a little bit. I couldn't enjoy it anymore. I think my response, because I didn't react, was just that my body became ill. Like my body didn't respond anymore, and I just felt very tired, and I didn't actually recognize that this was provoked by stress. And I think even medical people didn't recognize it. And I think often they actually think that stress is not something that makes you ill, but I know now that it is. And I still think that doctors I worked with, they really think that this cannot be a reason to become ill. And I think it's a real shame, because it's probably with a lot of people, they become ill because they don't manage their own stress. But yeah, they all, I had problems with my intestines, and then the doctor just gives you some medicines, or they thought I was overtrained, which was like right in a way, but I wasn't overtrained because I trained too much, because I had cut back my trainings a lot, like, more than 50%. So I knew that that couldn't really be the reason. And then the doctors also told me, you're not eating enough, and that's why you don't have energy. They were thinking in the right direction, but they didn't ever ask me about stress or anything. And actually, it was stress that paralyzed me and that made me ill. And I needed to work on that finally to be able to become a healthy person again. So it influences me a lot. And I think
And
I'm
what
not good at managing stress. And I still think I'm not good at managing stress, but I am now capable of recognizing when I am asking too much of myself, I can feel when I feel stressed. I can feel when I feel really tired, for example, I know that it's not because I've done too much. I recognize that it's okay. I've been going like through a stressful moments, hours, whatever, days, and my response is to become really tired afterwards if I don't stop this process before. So, when I feel stressed in my head, I already know like, okay, I must stop it now, because otherwise tomorrow or the day after I will be like fatigued again. I will be so tired that I'm not capable of anything, and it really stops me from functioning in a normal way. I can even like mental things, I can't do them anymore. I cannot make proper decisions. It really paralyzes me physically but also mentally. So yeah, I feel now more capable of
So
recognizing this and stopping this.
that's already a very good learning curve, no? It's first going sort of down, and now recognizing when you at least you learn something from it. So that is the good part, no? And as you say, okay, then I need to stop. And what does stopping mean? Is that just like, okay, you're gonna sit on the couch and do nothing? Now, yeah, I know where you live now. I think there is not even a couch, but what do you do? What do you mean with stopping? Is it in your head? Is it something physically? Is it something emotionally? Or
It means that I need to make time just for myself. It doesn't matter what I do. I could go out running, I could lie down, listen to music, but it means that I cannot continue the way what I'm doing, and I have to stop doing that, whatever it is. I mean, track and just really make space for myself. So be there just for me, and listen to what I need at that moment. So it can be different. If I felt like stressed in my head, I think running can help them be very, very helpful. And if I've already gone too far and I feel really fatigued, maybe it's better to just lie down and put headphones on and listen to relaxing music, for example. So it depends.
different stressors, different solutions, no? So
Yeah.
that is basically it. Can you feel then also really relaxed? Because if
Do
you
you do
say
you
I
mean
need to stop and you
when
go
I de-stress
running.
or? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
running, like, it can be really relaxing, and it has always been before. It was always something relaxing. Like, for me, running is also like a meditation. When I'm running, I'm just there for myself. I'm always with me, and I'm not like doing something for other people. So for me, it's relaxing because I only have to listen to myself and make my decisions for myself. So I can also always be comfortable in that situations. And when I'm not running, it means that I'm there for other people. So for my daughter, or I have to do something else for somebody, and then yeah, I think at the moment I'm not completely there for myself. It means that maybe I'm doing things that can stress me because I'm working for other people. So running for me can be very, very much de-stressing. Like, but also it can be stressing, stressful, of course, because when you go to a race or you prepare a race and you need to do something, that's, I mean, that's the pressure you put on yourself, I think, and that's the pressure you can get from other people who expect something from you. And I have actually learned to take that factor away. So when I go to a race now, I don't care about what other people expect from me because I'm running for myself, and so it's enough if I'm pleased with myself. So it doesn't bother me anymore what other people think or what they expect. So now it's only my own
I think
expectation that can make me feel stressed. I've also learned not to expect too much from myself because I will get into the moment when I run and feel what I can do, and then I will comply, with that feeling. So it means that I'm always pleased with myself. And actually, like, being able to do that also is like something which gives me a feeling of like I'm responding to myself, and if I feel I'm responding, yeah, I think that's good. Like, it's something positive, and that makes takes stress away. So being capable of responding to myself is like de-stressing for me. It helps me to run like in a free way again, and to turn running into something that doesn't stress me, but like relax me.
What I hear that is very valuable, like the pressure from others, what the pressure to perform, the pressure to be needed, the pressure to deliver. You've learned to manage that in a better way, so that um, you are capable now in running for yourself. And when you run happy and free, in the end you will perform better, no, because you learn to manage the pressure, which has become manageable after you navigated through this period of super stressful and pressure. Because I feel that the stress from you is a lot of things is coming from external expectations which you project on yourself. So if those are away,
Yeah.
then, or if you can park them, or you can manage them in a way that they don't affect you, you feel way
Hmm.
lighter in also your running and your performance, no?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think it's something which gives a lot of stress to many people. What do others expect you to do, and are you up to their level of expectation? But that is also something which is in your head mainly. So it's very good that you find your way in managing that, and find back also the joy and the lightness in the activities you're doing nowadays, no?
Yeah. Yeah, completely. And I think, you know, for me, like in my normal life, I never feel that kind of pressure. And luckily, because I think many people even feel that in their normal life. Like, they always think of what other people think of what they are doing, how they are dressed, or how they react to things. And for me, it only affects me, or it affected me in sports. Yeah, it's completely true what you're saying. It's in the end, you do it yourself, because yes, people can have expectations, but then they don't really care if you don't perform. Like, I mean, they do have expectations and they want you to perform well, and that's why they make all the interviews and everything. But then if you don't perform, it affects you.
This is a podcast with hurdles. A lot of stress. but we
Yeah.
t- but we take it relaxed.
Yeah, where did you lose me?
Okay. Let's see. Is there something like you now, with all the experience and the knowledge you have now? Because I saw you running 2 weeks ago, I think it was, in the pouring rain and the cold, which is evidently not the best circumstances to run, but you look like you're enjoying it, although it was not an easy race. Let's put it in this way, and you made it into the third position. Is there something, because I saw you running also with a lot of joy up to the certain point, and but is there something that you say, okay, that is an advice which I would have given myself earlier on regarding this topic, that would have saved me X, or I would have gained already this kind of insights, or I would have done things differently? um Anything.
I think I was lucky that the stress didn't get onto me like for many, many, many years. And thanks to that, I was able to perform really well during many years. I think now, for me, it's always important in order to avoid these stressful situations, just to like be more patient with myself. Like, when I ran that race, for example, I didn't have in mind that I wanted to to perform well. Like, I I was just there, and I thought, if I can finish this race, that's amazing. Like, when if I think where I came from, like, I wasn't able to run such a long distance during almost 2 years. And just the fact that my body is capable to endure like the impacts and everything of an 80-kilometer race, for me, is like a big present. And so I think you have to just adapt your expectations to your circumstances. You cannot expect your your organism to perform in the same way like all the time, and not always over a long period of time. So I think you have to just, in my case, every race, see, like, where am I? What can I expect? And then even like put your expectations maybe a little bit lower and give a little allowance to yourself with, so, like, a range of performance. And I think that takes a lot of stress away, because then you don't expect something you might not be capable of. And suddenly you feel like, what I expect from myself is something I am really capable of. That gives yourself confidence, and when you feel confident, things will go easy, and you will probably perform better than you thought you would be. Like in this race, it was a good position actually, if you think about it. Not really if you think like, I'm a person who can win races and I should be like winning this race, but but looking at it from in a different way, it's still a podium place. So it's a good position, but really I wasn't there to be on the stage. So even if I had finished like in an 8th position, I would have been pleased, because my goal was to finish this race and without like being injured after the race, like just like being physically capable of what I asked my body. And actually, it wasn't an easy race, this one, because it was so cold that I think the last part of the race, the cold went on me too much, and my body wasn't able to respond anymore, because I didn't realize that during the race, but at some point, because I had slowed down, I think I didn't create enough warmth for my body, so I felt like my head was going, and that are like the first symptoms when you get undercooled.
Um, not enough, not enough heat in your body. Yeah.
And that obviously makes that you cannot take the right decisions, or you cannot perform so well, because your muscles need like warmth to be able to create energy.
I saw you finishing, and you were starting to race to discover if you were still be able to run such an amount of kilometers, starting in cold and rain in the mountains. So that was really harsh, but you managed, and you got even on the stage to take the prize. So that is really an amazing achievement. I believe. So that's why we were at the finish also to celebrate that with you. You have a lot of resilience, of course, and now there's also a sort of softening part, like, okay, be nicer for yourself and don't have all these unrealistic expectations projected from others on yourself. Is there something else you would like to share about this topic?
Something interesting maybe is for people who actually think that they don't need to deal with stress. And maybe there are people who don't feel any stress at all, but I think there are probably a lot of people who do have stressful situations, or just like who are like stressed, but they don't actually know that they are stressed. And I think that is something really interesting, because there are many people, and it's also difficult in the beginning to recognize that you might be dealing with stress. And yeah, it's not really something I want to share, but it's something like it's something I ask myself, like, how could somebody like learn to recognize that he or she could like avoid or like have like a better life, or a less stressful life, and being able to enjoy more in their lives, when they recognize the factors that are actually like put stress on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
Like,
what you mean, but that's the hard part. How do you recognize that you're stressed when whatever situation you are
yeah,
in is so normal for you? Also, you didn't realize that maybe it was stress
exactly.
which caused your sickness. So what could have been a warning sign earlier on to realize that?
Yeah, it's something really interesting, because too many people don't realize it's, and maybe that's like bringing the whole thing to my place here. What happens if you bring people to another place that makes it easier to let go of the stress? So people go to, for example, in this case, my place. They are in nature, do other activities, and maybe that could be like a moment where they become aware, or even only when they get back home and back to their normal lives, that they realize like, "Oh," but when I was in this other situation, uh, I felt different. And when I go to my own situation again, my own life, and maybe some people can become aware that they actually could make changes to be less stressful in their lives and to enjoy life more.
The place you're talking about is La Villa. It's all about nature and doing activities outside. Not only running for those who would like to to join you, but it's definitely an environment which breeds tranquility, peace, presence, and also connectiveness with yourself and with your environment. And I truly believe that if you're sort of always in the rush mode and you take somebody out and in a more natural environment and put the brakes, then of course evidently the difference between always pushing and basically doing not so much is huge. And where do you feel better? Most of the times people feel more better when they're relaxed without this external pressure. But you mentioned also a very interesting other word, which I think is important for living a stress-free life, is joy. You mentioned it a couple of times. You need to be happy with what you do. It needs to give you joy. When I'm running, I feel, yeah, it is joyful. How does that have an influence on stress? Or is it that not having joy is causing stress?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you don't have joy, it causes stress. Yeah, in a way. If you can relax, like if you feel pleasure, if you can laugh, and then it works on your whole body. And in running, your muscles relax and they can function in a normal way. When you are not when you're stressed, your muscles are tight, so they cannot do their work well because they are not in the right um, strengthening position. So the muscle contraction is not optimal. So that's also always like, when you remind yourself to laugh, it helps with your performance whilst you're running. But obviously, like a fake laugh or a real like pleasant feeling makes a big difference. So yeah, that's the key. Like, to enjoy what you're doing, because then you can be good at it, and also the feeling that goes alongst it is much better.
So for those people, because not everybody is immediately ready to say yes, Ragna, we come to you. You can also come to me, because but I'm strongly convinced, and like you say, strongly convinced it's a natural tools to increase resilience. But first, you need to feel the difference. Maybe this tension, but this not having joy, or knowing that you do something which doesn't feel like you, or doesn't feel right, or there must be something else. Those are signs to show that you're not on the right path, that there is something stressful in your life or in your body. Could that be it? No, this indication from when do you know that you're off? When do you know that you're in stress modus or survival? What is that? It doesn't feel good. You
Yeah.
don't know exactly what, but maybe that's already enough. Could that be?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably more than one factor, but one of them is your mood. And if you can be like nice for yourself, if you feel like free to laugh, free just like yeah, just yourself. And the other symptoms are the ones we were mentioning before, like feeling stressed, like feeling like a buzzy feeling in your head, or the opposite, feeling very tired, and so tired that you're not capable of doing the tasks you are expected to do for your work, but also in your normal life. Like, for example, when I was very, very fatigued, I felt not capable of cooking for myself. And that's like a negative spiral, because if you don't prepare a good meal for yourself, of course, you won't get any more energy. You will get less energy, and you will eat like maybe less healthy food because it's easier and because you don't have to prepare it, and that brings you down even further. So it's
listening more to whatever sign comes across, and at least mood and also the tension in your body. There's all there, people know, but they don't really dare to acknowledge it yet. I hope that with this honest, because I always like your authenticity conversation, how you manage stress and how do you went in the ups and downs in life, and that you have now started again a new phase, with La
Mhm.
Villa and the very nice projects you are having there. I would like, I think it's also another adventure, which I feel is really what you like to do.
Well, thank you for your time and your patience. And just in one sentence, I just wish to anybody that people can be true to themselves.
That's a nice message to close it up. Thank you.